Hi, my name is Dr. Milkie of Milwaukee Foot and Ankle Specialists. I'm going to talk about pain on the ball of the foot. I like to describe things based on location because that's what patients will come in saying is I'm having pain on the ball of the foot, not knowing, of course, what the diagnosis is. So there's several things that can go wrong on the ball of the foot. When I talk about the ball of the foot, I'm going to show my foot model here. So here's the foot, of course, heel bone and toes, and the ball of the foot being down here, where, almost like marbles down here, where we put a lot of our weight when we walk. So there's a number of different things that can happen on the balls of the feet. First of all, if you have a high arch, your arches are high, then you're going to put more pressure on your heel and more pressure on the balls of the feet. So that can cause just irritation, inflammation, soreness from just overuse. If you're standing a lot at work, if you're in shoes that don't have a lot of cushion, you're going to have some, you're going to be prone to some soreness on the balls of the feet. So foot structure can lead to particular problems. And in this case, higher arches can lead to pressure on the balls of the feet. Lower arches, flat feet can also lead to pressure on the balls of the feet for different reasons. Not because you're putting so much pressure there, but because a lower arch foot tends to be what we call hypermobile. There's more movement. So if there's more movement, then potentially there's more pressure to the balls of the feet. So a lower arch can also cause pressure to the balls of the feet. So foot type is important. There's other things that can lead to pressure on the balls of the feet. So particular, we'll call them deformities. Hammer toes, where, and I can't do it on the foot model, but if the toe curls or the toes curl to some degree, they're perfectly flat, that's great. But if they curl even a little bit, it is going to cause more back pressure, and back pressure being to the balls of the feet. So just having hammer toes is going to put more pressure on the balls of the feet. And it doesn't take much. So let's say the foot can handle, 50 degrees of pressure and there's 60 degrees of pressure. Well, that's over time with each step you take, that's eventually can lead to some inflammation, some pain on the balls of the feet. So toe alignment is really important to what's happening here on the balls of the feet. So certain deformities can lead to pressure on the balls of the feet. You can have pain in a joint, specifically in one joint. So you could have an injury to the joint. You could just be overloading that particular joint with the way your foot functions, leading to some inflammation of the joint itself. It can be on the top. Some people come in and point to, I'm having pain here, or I'm having pain down here. Now, specifically, we're talking about the balls of the feet. So they're having pain on the bottom. It could be from the actual bones. It could be from the lining around the joint called the capsule. It can be from a ligament down here, which is a really thick ligament. It's called the plantar plate. So you can have inflammation and sometimes even tear the plantar plate on the ball of the foot. And a person will come in saying, I've had pain on the ball of my foot for months. It just won't go away. I've tried padding, I've tried ice, I've tried resting, I've tried, better shoes, I've tried staying off of it, and I still have pain down there. And sometimes we'll have to do an MRI, and the MRI can show a small tear of a ligament down here that typically would have to be repaired. So you can't have pain in one joint. So there's some forms of arthritis that can cause pain in one joint. So if you're having pain just in one joint, there's several reasons why that can happen. If there's pain in multiple joints, then there's, arthritis can be a cause of that, but there's other things that can lead to pain in multiple joints. And again, foot type, foot structure, deformities, things like that can be a factor. So there's other things that can happen to the balls of the feet, such as you can have pain kind of like you wouldn't know that it's between the bones, but when I press, when we evaluate the area, we can find pain between the metatarsal bones. So in this area here or here, there's a condition called a neuroma, which is a pinched nerve, an inflamed nerve. It's more than just a pinched nerve, it's an inflamed nerve. And the description that people will come in with is, I'm having some pain on the ball of the foot. It actually feels like I'm walking on a marble, or I feel like my sock is bunched up and it's not. That's a common feeling from a nerve being irritated on the ball of the foot. And you might not know exactly where it's at. And sometimes it can be hard to determine exactly where it's coming from. The most common place for a neuroma is between the third and fourth metatarsal bones. The second most common place is between the second and third metatarsal bone. It's very rare to get it between the fourth and fifth and between the first and second. But pain in the ball of the foot, feeling like you're walking on something, a marble or bunched up, and then pain that can go into the toes, like sharp pain, electrical pain, pins and needles, that type of thing, or some numbness in that area, can be a sign of a nerve impingement. And again, a neuroma being a specific problem there. You can get bursitis between the metatarsal bones. So again, in between the spaces, you can get some bursitis, which is an inflammation. And there's different reasons why that would happen. Again, you've got to be putting some extra force on that part of your foot structure, certain shoes, certain activities, maybe running more, overuse syndromes, which means you're doing more than what your foot can tolerate. And the problem is we don't know what more is. We don't know, what our limits are when it comes to that type of thing. So you might be running, 2 miles every other day, and then all of a sudden it's 2.5 or 3 miles every other day, or walking on a treadmill for 15 minutes, and now it's 30 minutes or 30 and then 45. And eventually you end up with some pain on the balls of your feet specifically. And it could just be from the overuse, and you might have to just dial that back a little bit to get that inflammation to go down. The biggest problem with a lot of foot problems, and the balls of the feet are no different, is that when pain starts and things happen and you're having the problem for a while, it's hard to get rid of it. It's hard for it to just go away on its own. It can take months, and having an intervention of some kind, seeing a doctor and doing something about it, can speed that process up a lot faster. Number one, because you can get the right diagnosis. Number two, you get specific treatments that can really target the diagnosis and get the pain to go away a lot faster. If you just dial back your exercise and buy better shoes, maybe ice, some ibuprofen, Aleve, that type of thing, you might make an impact on it to some degree. But if it lingers after that, then something specifically is wrong. Something needs to be addressed. Another problem you can have on the ball of the foot is you can end up with a fracture. A bone can break, and it can break from just overuse again. It can break from just miles on your feet. Typically, the over 40 years old population are the ones that are going to be most prone to that type of thing. So we do find fractures sometimes. And again, it could be under the big toe joint, which I didn't really talk a lot about yet. But the big toe joint is another part of the ball of the foot where you can have a fracture of one of the little bones. You don't see it on here, but there's two little bones called sesamoid bones on the ball of the foot that you can fracture just from activities, just from miles on your feet. It doesn't have to be from running or doing anything high impact or going for a big hike or being on cement all day. It can just happen from wear and tear. So, we do consider the big toe joint to be part of the ball of the foot. And yes, you can have a problem under that area as well. So there's a lot of different things that can go wrong with the balls of the feet. Again, inflammation, joint inflammation, the lining of the joint can become inflamed. You can get a neuroma or nerve impingement, inflamed nerve that can happen between the balls of the feet. You can get a fracture down there. Sometimes we've seen foreign bodies where we've taken things out of the ball of the foot, a person not necessarily knowing that they stepped on something, and taken out some big things on the ball of the foot. You can have it from a wart that can happen down there. Bad calluses certainly can cause pain on the ball of the foot. So calluses come from too much pressure on that area. So there's a lot of different things that can happen to the balls of the feet. And again, better shoes, more cushion, cutting back on, exercise that, puts more pressure on the ball of the foot for a while, an anti-inflammatory, ice, those kinds of things are good home remedies. I don't believe in going out and purchasing, expensive inserts from retail places that might not be the right thing for your feet. I'm a big fan of premium inserts, orthotics, when needed for the right situations. Cushions are okay. Inexpensive things are okay, but you definitely don't want to spend a lot of money. And, buying a pair of shoes and then thinking that, well, maybe it's the next pair of shoes that are going to be better. Another mistake that people make, they invest a lot of money in shoes and none of them really help because they don't know what they have. They don't know what the problem is, and shoes may not be a factor at all. So there are some home remedies you can do, but if the pain lingers on, then of course the best thing is to see a podiatrist, get the right diagnosis. It might take an MRI to find that, but the bottom line is we got to find that first. And then what is the right treatment for that particular diagnosis? Really zero in on what needs to be done to fix the problem. It might be something very simple. It could be a condition that might need surgery. We really don't know. But the sooner you address something, the less chance that surgery is going to be necessary. So with any foot problem, the sooner you get to it, the better off it's going to be. So That's what I have to say about all the different things that can go wrong with the balls of the feet.